So, good morning, everybody. My name is Chiara Lucchini. I'm from Torino Urban Lab, which is one of the organizations that are part of the consortium of the Climaborough project. I'm very happy to welcome you here this morning in this fourth climate webinar. So the fourth occasion in which the consortium of Climaborough shares with a wider audience of experts, of policymakers and practitioners, what the project is bringing about so far, and discusses its outcomes, its outputs, and the general framework that is leading our action. This morning, the core topic of the webinar is public procurement. Actually, public procurement is the very heart of Climaborough and of the action that is brought about within the consortium, which incorporates scientific partners, technical partners, and a huge number of cities that are actually experimenting innovative ways of procuring services and solutions, actually climate-related solutions. And today we will actually go through this. I won't take too much time, but I would like to introduce you to the program of this morning. As you can see, it's quite a dense a couple of hours, but we are very happy because as we normally do, with our climate webinars, not only we introduce the content and introduce the protagonist of our consortium, but we always have let's say external voices. So we are very happy that in this case too we had the chance to let's say bring into our conversation someone from some expert from the European context. So I'm really happy to introduce you now to our agenda, and actually the first person that will animate and will bring content into our webinar this morning is Miss Valentina Schipper-Sopeco. She's from the city of Haarlem in the Netherlands, but she is also, I would say, much more, and we were inviting her this morning to bring her insight from her perspective on public procurement, because Valentina is also the coordinator of the Urban Agenda Partnership on Innovative and Responsible Public Procurement. She's the chair of the Eurocities working group on public procurement. And she's the ambassador, one of the ambassadors of the We Buy Social EU, which is actually an EU-funded project. And following Valentina's intervention, so Valentina will provide us insight, but also strategy and framework about why we should be so interested on public procurement, and why public procurement can assume a very strategic perspective in the action of municipalities. After Valentina, we will have our Francesco Molinari, which is representing here ANCI Toscana, which is the lead partner of Climaborough. And actually, Francesco was the person that was designing and leading the federated procurement in Climaborough. So Francesco will explain the approach and let's say the process that was designed for Climaborough, and this will help us also understand what will happen later in the second part of the climate webinar. After the intervention of Valentina and Francesco, there will be the possibility for the audience to ask questions and to interact with them. I'm sure there will be a lot to ask and a lot to comment. After this first round of questions, we will go more in deep, I would say more in depth into the experience of the Climaborough cities. So Climaborough is engaging 12 cities in its action, and the cities that are engaged in Climaborough are delivering solutions, climate solutions that relate to different domains. We have energy, mobility, waste, and circularity as our main let's say, frameworks for action. As we couldn't really engage them all because the Climate webinar would have lasted like 2 days, we were asking 2 of them. Today we will have the city of Differdange and the city of Cascais, belonging to different areas of work. So the city of Differdange is bringing about a climate solution which is related to energy, while in the case of Cascais, they are working on circularity. And both of them will talk about their experience within this innovative procurement process that is being funded by the project. But the nice and interesting thing is that both of them will be accompanied by the solution providers that will procure these solutions. So we have been working very much in the last 2 years with the cities and with the delivery and the development of the call, the tender for the procurement, and then finally that has brought us finally to the signature of the contract between the cities and the solution providers. So it is extremely interesting for us today to also have the voice of private solution providers that got on board really recently in the project, but that are already working with our cities, and so their experience and their voice is also very interesting too for us. After the presentation of the cities and the solution providers, we will have further space for questions for both of them, actually, for questions, for comments. And then finally, we will have our scientific coordinator, Matteo Satta, from ANCI Toscana 2, that will take care of the final remarks, but also that will bring good news, because today we will talk about the first round of public procurement that was delivered by the project. And so we are now in the deployment phase, but a second tender is actually currently open. So we hope that this webinar will also be the occasion and the opportunity for us actually to present the second tender, but also for the audience to better understand how the process was led so far and how it will be most likely delivered in the following months. Just a couple of recommendations really quickly before then leaving the stage to the people that have interesting things to share with us today. We are recording the webinar, and the webinar will be published like the previous ones on Climaborough YouTube channel. If you haven't done it yet, follow the Climaborough LinkedIn page, because that is the place in which we will make the information public. The other thing, if you don't mind to mute yourself when you're not speaking, so the experience of the webinar will be much better for everybody. And of course, feel free to post questions or comments in the chat during the presentations. One thing I didn't mention, but I do mention now, is that as a consortium, we normally let's say, produce and take care of these webinars as in a collaborative way. So the other cities of that are participating in the Climaborough webinar were preparing some questions. We will give the stage to them in the Q&A sessions, but for all the others, if you are interested in specific topics, if you have specific questions for some of our lecturers, feel free to share this with us. We will collect everything, because also one thing we really very much believe in is the possibility to share, to discuss, to confront. So you are all very welcome to share your thoughts with us. I will stop sharing my screen and leave the floor to Valentina. Valentina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for introducing me. Wonderful to see you all today. I will start my presentation in a few seconds. On the just have to share my screen. So I hope you can see it. Okay, then I'll make it bigger. So, okay. So, today I will tell you more about innovation and strategic procurement in order to stimulate climate adaptation, circularity, sustainability, and so on. So, before I start with my presentation, I would like to stress the importance of public procurement as a strategic tool. Why it's so important? I would compare public procurement even as a magic wand of the Harry Potter that could create new jobs and help to make your region, your city, your country more climate adaptive, more introduce green mobility, energy transition to renewable energy. And it's about a huge amount of money. I'm working for municipality of Haarlem, and it's a mid-sized city, but even our municipality spent yearly about 250 million euros yearly on procurement. And if you use it as a strategic instrument, you can achieve a lot. If you're a bigger city, you can make impact even bigger than that. And it's 14% of GDP. And in Europe-wise, all public authorities are spending about 2,000 billion of euros each year. So it's an amazing instrument, amazing vehicle. Okay, there are of course some struggles, some issues, some challenges that public authorities experience by doing procurement. First of all, risk aversion, very understandable from psychological point of view. We don't like changes. We are risk averse from our nature, but there are a lot of tools available that can make your life easier. There are a lot of European funds. They can help to reduce the possible risks. So I would highly recommend to use them. I will also tell a few words later about it. Another challenge is lack of transparency. For example, on the supply chain, if you buy a smartphone or another device which consists thousands of small parts, you not always know if the labor conditions of all people who produced it very well, and sometimes it's really difficult. So as a public authorities and also European Commission's working on creating such of selection criteria and award criteria, and also some recommendations and tips to do it in that way that it would give more transparency. So complexity, yes, the procurement procedures are quite long, and you have to have expertise on how to do that. So limited budgets, the budgets of public authorities are cut due to financial situation, of course, and it also can be a challenge for public authority to start with experimenting with the innovation procurement or sustainable procurement. But still then there are, if you really would like to do that, there are also a lot of possibilities. Just small example, European Innovation Council can offer some support to public authorities that would like to undertake innovation procurement, for example, for already existing innovative product, services, or works, or even if you would like to do it using pre-commercial procurement, but there are also already developed innovative solutions. Lack of time is very often what we hear because of high workload. You have to do a lot as a procurer, and there is almost no time to join interesting conferences for inspiration or to do the study visits or to experiment or to do something else. But I would also highly recommend still to find time to do that, because the innovative solutions are not always more expensive ones. Sometimes it's even cheaper, short term or long term. And lack of capacity building. There is plenty of information, tools, recorded trainings, materials online to find, developed by EU-funded projects, by European Commission, by some advanced frontrunners, public authorities. So even if there are bottlenecks, there is always way out. It's just hoping this presentation would be the step forward to help you to find those possibilities and opportunities. I already explained the magic wand of Harry Potter as a strategic public procurement is a strategic tool. So you can do a lot, and I really hope after this presentation you will be thinking, okay, what else I could do to introduce it also in my own organization. I would like to switch from more theoretical part, let's say words, to more practical part, where I would like to tell you about a good example. This is the and how we use public procurement as a strategic tool in that. I don't know if you're playing football or you're doing some other sports outside, but the artificial sport pitches actually often contain toxic materials. They are very difficult to recycle after the life cycle, and it becomes a huge, as you see, a huge amount of waste, not recyclable, not good for environment. So together with the city of Amsterdam, the city of Haarlem decided to find out if there are some other ways using procurement as a strategic tool to solve this problem. So what we did a procurement, and we found a very nice solution. I will also try to show you in short video about that in a few seconds, but very short explained is that we're using now, instead of this bad for environmental toxic materials, we're using bio-based artificial sport pitches. And under the sport pitches, I don't know if you drink beer or wine. Sometimes you have these boxes where you put the bottles. So this kind of bottles, not bottles, but boxes, they put under the under the sport pitches. And when it rains, the water collected in the boxes, and then when it's hot, for example, the water dams, they're cooling down the sport pitches, because if it's warm in the summer, you can even burn your feet through your shoes by playing on that sport pitch normally. So cooling down of the sport pitches is very important. So this kind of circular climate adaptive solution is great. Also, we are making the trying to produce also renewable energy using solar panels when the sport pitches are not used. So now I would like to just shortly stop sharing and try to share this video to show you. It's in Dutch, but no worries. There are subtitles, so it will help you to understand, and it's also very visual. So in that way, I'm sure it will be clear. And otherwise, you of course can ask questions. Okay, so and then let's see. I will check. Here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Oh.
Amsterdam werkt aan een toekomstbestendige stad, waarin we zo min mogelijk energie gebruiken.
Just a second. I see the subtitles English. So now we are going.
Onze eigen energie opwekken, we materialen en grondstoffen zoveel mogelijk hergebruiken en waar de omgeving bestand is tegen extreme wind, hitte en neerslag. Sportparken spelen een grote rol in de verduurzaming van Amsterdam. Maar hoe ziet het sportpark van de toekomst eruit? Help jij ons mee met jouw duurzame innovaties? Laat je inspireren door deze animatie en doe mee! Op het sportpark laad je je elektrische fiets op dankzij zonnepanelen en tap je je eigen water uit de kraan. De omgeving is natuurrijk. De vlinders vliegen rond. Dit is een groen sportpark. Het is voor iedereen toegankelijk. Je kunt ook in het park recreëren. Maar hoe zorgen we voor deze fijne sportomgeving met de beperkte ruimte die we hebben als stad? Door gebruik te maken van kunstgras. Zo besparen we de ruimte van maar liefst 4 grasvelden per keer. Kunstgras kan namelijk veel intensiever bespeeld worden dan gras. Onze kunstgrasvelden willen we uiteraard zo duurzaam mogelijk. Dit is een voorbeeld van een duurzaam veld. Het is modulair en gemakkelijk te verplaatsen. Het kunstgras is van biobased producten gemaakt. En het veld is hier gebouwd op gerecyclede kratjes en een gerecyclede shockpad. Deze kratjes vangen water op als het regent. Als het veld opwarmt door de zon, verdampt het opgevangen water. Zo wordt het kunstgrasveld met meer dan 40 graden gekoeld. Dat is veel fijner voor de sporter en de omgeving. Een andere mogelijkheid is het aanleggen van een waterbel onder het veld. Zo gebruiken we het regenwater opnieuw in het clubgebouw en op de velden. Dankzij sensortechniek gaat het besproeien van de velden volledig automatisch en blijft het veld gezond. Als het veld niet bespeeld wordt, worden zonnepanelen automatisch uitgerold over het veld om zo zonne-energie op te wekken voor het clubhuis. We oogsten de warmte van het kunstgrasveld en gebruiken dit om het clubgebouw en het water te verwarmen. Zo douche je water- en energie-neutraal. Na het douchen kun je terecht in de gezonde kantine met vers fruit van de bomen en struiken van het sportpark en broodjes en hapjes geleverd door sociale partners uit de wijk. Het clubgebouw is energie-neutraal, dankzij de zonnepanelen en de warmte uit het veld. Het nieuwe clubhuis is ook volledig circulair. Materialen en grondstoffen van oude gebouwen en kunstgrasvelden zijn hergebruikt. En niet alleen sporters gebruiken het clubgebouw. Je kunt hier ook naar de fysiotherapeut of naar de huiswerkklas. Glas, plastic, papier en restafval wordt gescheiden. Van GFT-afval maken we ons eigen compost. Als de kunstgrasvelden einde levensduur zijn, krijgen ze een tweede leven. Bijvoorbeeld als beschoeiing, kantplank of straatmeubilair. We willen uiteindelijk natuurlijk dat een kunstgrasveld weer terugkomt als nieuw kunstgrasveld. En ook in de avond kan worden gespeeld. Dankzij de slimme en energiezuinige verlichting is er licht om te spelen en wordt de natuur niet gehinderd. De rondleiding zit erop. Werk jij met ons mee aan het sportpark van de toekomst? waar Amsterdammers kunnen recreëren en sporten in een gezonde, natuurlijke en biodiverse omgeving. Innovatie en duurzaamheid hand in hand. Samen krijgen we het voor elkaar.
Okay, now I will share my presentation again. Okay, so it was the short video about it. Oh, just a second. What I also would like to say about that, about this artificial sport pitches, we are now we already use the artificial sport pitches in Amsterdam and in Haarlem. They are also possible to visit them. And now we are in the phase of procurement. We would like to make it even more circular, because the innovation and technologies are developing. So now we would like to make it even more innovative than it already was. So if you're interested, there is possibility to follow this project. You will be updated. You can get access to tender documents, so you can reuse the concept and of this artificial sport pitches in your region or your city. Another example is about the Sustainable Road and Water Works. And here we strongly used award criteria in order to provide more innovations and more to boost innovation and circularity. So, for example, we developed during that procurement, we asked. We said, okay, you as a company will get more points with award criteria if you would develop something that would contribute to our strategies such as circularity, climate adaptation, and so on. So the few of them, one of the companies suggested and developed an app for use of materials on the smartphone. It means if you, as a company, example given, Matteo has a company in Haarlem, and he make roads, and he has the stones he do not need anymore. Normally the stones would become a waste, and Matteo with his company would have to transport all the stones to another place and pay for this huge amount of waste. So he would have next to the environmental, let's say, bad things like it's not environmental friendly, carbon emission, transportation. He would also have a lot of extra costs. He should pay for the waste. He should pay for transportation, and so on. So. But imagine Chiara has also a company in Haarlem, and she has another company who and this company making bridges. Let's imagine that. So and she would need stones for her bridges, and normally she would buy new ones and let them transport. But now she knows through this app that Matteo has the stones. He did not need them anymore. So Chiara can take over the stones from Matteo and use in her works in the area. So in this, as you see, it's just a small example, but it may really make a difference. And next to it, we received also a huge number of interesting solutions. But I'm afraid there is not enough time to tell in my enthusiasm about all the examples. So I will just point just few of them. Another example is Innovation Hub. In Torino, you have this Innovation Hub. We have in Haarlem a bit smaller innovation hub as well. So, for example, we are facilitating as a municipality, facilitating place for startups, innovative startups, to experiment with their circular and social responsible solutions. So, for example, this one is the old shoes. They make small particles from them, and they make the boards for promotion, as you see on the right side, for example, or some boxes. So there are different possibilities. Or this one on the left side, you see the waste container. In the Netherlands, every household has this kind of waste container, and there are, let's say, 5 million households. And after the life cycle of the waste container, when it becomes a waste, you can imagine from 5 million, even if it's very sustainable waste container, after it become also huge amount of waste. So there is a company, innovative company, who experimenting with giving a second life to this old waste container by making small particles from it, and then printing with a 3D printer. You can do different things, like on the right side, you see the flower boxes, street furniture, banks for the parks, and so on. So you also reduce waste and create new jobs and so on. Also, I am sure Chiara will share the presentation. There is a link to a free to use e-learning module we developed as the Urban Agenda Partnership, and there are 7 modules, starting with the strategy, procurement strategy. But there is also this one, and I zoomed in on this one because there is a legal framework of innovation module, where you can find a lot of roadmaps and checklists. I mentioned by bottlenecks, procurement can be sometimes experienced as a complex, and these kind of roadmaps and checklists can make your life easier. There are, of course, a lot of much more tools, but this one is also very nice. And you can also find a lot of good practices from all over Europe about how to use this kind of innovation tools and innovation procedures. Also would like to invite you to become a community member of the on the Urban Agenda public procurement platform. You can find it here. And if you become a community member, you can receive all the, new tools and learning materials, and interesting events and activities once a month with in the email with the links. So you can, it's up to you to see what is out there, so you will be updated about the new interesting things. I would thank you so much for your attention, and if you have any questions after the next presentation, there will be possibility to ask your questions or to share your thoughts or ideas, comments about it. Thank you very much. Grazie.
Thank you so much, Valentina. I was posting in the chat the 2 links of these last tools that you were talking about, so it makes it easier for the audience to reach them out. But in any case, we normally publish the recording of the webinar and the presentations, and Climaborough has got quite a responsive set of communication tools, so we will make our best to share all the information that you were kindly bringing us today. I would leave the floor to Francesco Molinari just to go more in depth in the understanding of what we did within the Climaborough project and in which way the federated procurement was in a way influencing and informing the work of cities. Francesco, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chiara, and I'm now sharing my screen. Now you should start seeing my presentation. This is the presentation mode.
We see it.
Okay. So I assume you can hear me fine. So I will start my presentation, which will take about 15 minutes as agreed. Our point of view is the European point of view, as it is peculiar and connatural to any EU-funded project. And our starting vision is the more and more frequent occurrence and repetition of climate crisis all around Europe, crises that are perceived as such as impactful, negatively impactful on the everyday life of people, also in a number of surveys, such as this recent one, which was launched by the EIB. So you see the problem, you see the problem is recurrent, you see the problem doesn't know any border. Pity that the solutions that are being developed and tested to tackle the consequences, and in some cases to prevent the consequences of climate crisis, are still bounded by the borders of cities and countries. So our approach in Climaborough was to reverse the angle and start developing something which could be considered as a European approach to solution finding and testing and deploying in a considerable number of locations at the same time, with the special caveat that these locations could be considered as lots of the same call for tender, rather than wasting time, in our perspective, to promote a string of consecutive calls for tender dealing with more or less similar issues in different locations. So what we did was to test a hybrid model of federated and joint public procurement. I don't have time to come back on this hybrid nature, but if there are questions, I will be happy to do that. Engaging a group of cities, first and foremost in the identification of their respective challenges related to the climate neutrality goal, which is common to them because they are all of them, or most of them, involved in the European mission entitled Climate Cities, Climate Neutral and Smart Cities.
Francesco, sorry for interrupting you, but we cannot see your presentation moving on. If you can go, yes, on presentation on full screen mode. Yeah, now we do, but before we were just stuck in the front page. Sorry about interrupting you.
No problem. So let's try again. So the model we tested for the first time ever started from engaging 8 cities in the declaration of their own challenges related with the big climate issue, defining these challenges in a participatory way involving members of the respective city teams, and then proposing common ideas to the market via an instrument which is named preliminary market consultations. Collecting all this information, we, as ANCI Toscana, could reach the goal of launching an innovative public procurement call coordinated by ANCI Toscana, which was dealing with those challenges and looking for solutions jointly in those 8 cities at the same time. And the good news for us is that almost 50% of the bidders we awarded, I will come back on that later, there are more bidders than lots because the approach we took was making room for 2 winners per lot. As you can see, 6 plus 1 out of 15 did not belong to the same country of the city in question. And this is good for us because it shows the possibility of opening up a market for this kind of solution, also thanks to the contribution of public procurement. Now, incidentally, but not that much, we have a second call for tender open until the 9th of May, which is following the same scheme, and it is involving 5 more cities. Time-wise, we are aware of the fact that procedures which are new and complex may take a lot of time to be developed and finalized. In our case, as you can see, from the very start of the first round of procurement in January 23, not with the launch of the call, but with the activities at city level I was mentioning earlier for the identification of the needs, and then followed by the preliminary market consultations and so on, we could compress the timeline of this process until May last year, more or less in 18 months of time. And this year, or starting in October 24, we are trying to do it even in less time, in 1 year overall, starting from, again, the field work we have done with the cities in October to December last year, and landing into the expected award of the call in September-October 2025. Going back to the first, and by now only, experiment we did, as you can see from these figures, participation was quite significant. We had initially 64 candidatures by individual or associated economic operators, which were progressively reduced in number, leading to 31 of them presenting the financial and the technical offer jointly, and you see a quite interesting success rate, about 1 in 2 being awarded. This is also an element we are using as evidence for our performance, and I think we should also consider a similar number of candidatures as target for the second edition of our call. Just to specify a bit better the cities we are talking about, on the left-hand side, you see the 4 cities participating in the first round. We have today Differdange in our panel, with my friend Diego speaking on behalf, belonging to what we named the hub of energy and mobility. The arrows show what we consider successful situations where a supplier coming from another country has contributed to scaling their solutions across Europe by being awarded, of course, after a transparent and fair procedure, one of the 2 lots belonging to each city. There are also smaller transfers, for example, from Greece to Bulgaria, but I think you got the point. On the right-hand side, we have the other two cities participating in the new edition of the call. Of course, we do not know yet where the suppliers will come from. The next image is more or less identical. We have the four cities on the left-hand side which took part in the other hub of challenges and therefore searched solutions belonging to the waste management and circular economy domain. You see in Portugal there are two winners coming from the eastern part or the southern and eastern part of Europe, namely Bulgaria and Greece. We have also one winner, the only case where there is only one winner in Maribor, from Germany. And then the other two cities are characterized by having the two winners belonging to the same country. On the right-hand side, the three new cities, and incidentally, Barbara from Cascais will be the other speaker in the panel today, telling us about her experience. Finally, on the right-hand side, we see the other three cities of the same hub, which will be involved, which are already involved in the second edition of our call. One important element of this experiment is the use of the innovation partnership instrument, which is normed by the European directives on procurement, giving a second chance to all bidders to revise and refine their initial bid across a process of bilateral negotiation, which is situated, as you can see, between the first deadline where all candidates presented their technical offer, only the technical offer without any price, and the next deadline where they are invited to resubmit a modified technical offer together with a financial offer. This is something we will reiterate also in this second call for tender, and it proved very interesting, very useful, and I assume my two colleagues from Differdange and Cascais will confirm this, in the sense of making, of giving a second chance, as I said, to the bidders to narrow the focus of their offers in full compliance or with the maximum possible compliance with the original challenges and requirements formulated by the city in question. This is extremely important because we are talking about innovative public procurement. So the solutions that are being presented exceed the state of the art, at least because they were never deployed before in the city we are talking about. They can also exceed the state of the art because they are original, innovative, never deployed before. But to be honest, in our call for tender, as in the other one, which is now out, we were asking for solutions having at least a TRL, technology readiness level, between 4 and 6, so tested solutions, as the timing of deployment was not too long to allow the introduction of really innovative and never seen before solution proposals. There were different challenges, various challenges we had to consider. I'm now coming to the conclusions. I would like to mention at least these that you can see in this slide. Dealing with 8 different countries, not only cities, there was the challenge of choosing the applicable law for this procurement experiment. We chose the European law, followed by the Italian one where ANCI Toscana resides. Simplified procedures for appeal were introduced based on arbitration clauses, and I'm happy to confirm that no litigation has occurred after the award of this tender. There are, and this is quite obvious issues with languages and also cultural barriers in consideration of the fact that not only the cities but also the suppliers or the candidates come from different countries and therefore speak different languages. We tried to simplify the issue in two directions, using English as the official language of the procedure, including bilaterally between, for example, ANCI Toscana and the city of Turin, and allowing translations that may not have been certified on the occasion of specific phases of the procedure. Generally speaking, we acted as single point of contact on behalf of all cities, but the cities sent their representatives to preside over the most delicate phases of the procedure, including the evaluation and the negotiation phases. There was an initial variety of needs and requirements because the process leading to the identification of the climate challenges was done individually in each city, but I am happy to mention that under the common header of socio-technical solutions to climate change related issues, we could find a minimum common denominator for all the solutions, allowing us to keep one single procedure instead of multiplying the number and therefore the issues connected with several distinct procedures running at the same time. And finally, in terms of logistics, we did not see the issue, and the issue didn't materialize, probably because all participants were aware that winners could come from other countries, and at the same time, the locations of the pilot sites could well be in other countries than the country of residence of suppliers. This is my last slide. To conclude, we have a single centralized procurer, ANCI Toscana, acting on behalf of many, which is a good, but it was also a time-consuming and challenging process, sometimes exhausting for the procuring station. The challenge identification mechanism, coupled with preliminary market consultation, was certainly a novelty, but also something to learn from. Initially, there was no clear antecedent. We are probably seated on something that has value, especially when practiced across the country borders. The negotiation of the initial offers followed by a second opportunity was an interesting add-on. We considered anyway this as something that might not have been that impactful on the procedure. In fact, significant efforts had to be provided to coordinate this phase, and the award of two distinct suppliers per lot, we consider this as something very attractive for the end participants. We are anyway repeating this in the new call. As far as the alignment of deployment times, this has been impeded by delays in contract signature, which led to misalignments between the city lots. I'm stopping here also for the sake of time, but I remain open to receiving questions from the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francesco. We had just some issues with the presentation, but I was actually finding a way to show it in any case. So I see there is a question in the chat, which you most likely partially answered, but I can read it for everybody. So the question is from Pavel. He asked, how did you legally merge 8 cities as one contracting authority, joint procurement? Was there any problem due to various national legislations? And then we have another question from Dan Julian, who says, what types of solutions are you looking for, I suppose? Types of solution is just IT types or mixed with other biological, which I suppose also physical. And I would ask also our cities from the Climaborough consortium if they want to raise the hand or take the stage for their questions, or if they prefer to write them in the chat, it's the same. And in the meantime, there's another message here. There's Martina from Pilsen that's asking, maybe this is more for Valentina as a question. Why should cities choose innovative procurement over traditional public procurement? So I don't know, maybe if between Francesco and Valentina, if you want to take a couple of minutes each to answer these questions, and then we can move forward with the following contributions.
Okay, should I start or Valentina?
Yeah, you can start if you want, and then we leave the stage to Valentina. So if she also wants to add any comment on besides her answer, we will be happy to listen to her.
Okay, so I will start by the first question. As I mentioned, the chosen legislation is the European legislation on procurement, as stored in the European directives, now dating back to 2014, which have been indeed transferred into the national legislative systems, but exactly for the reason that you mentioned in your question, to avoid conflicts between national legislations, we chose to stay at the European level. So I think our first and now second call for tender belongs to the family of a purely European or fully European calls for innovative procurement, which is not very crowded as a category at the moment. Going to the question on solutions, we named the solutions in question socio-technical, meaning that we were looking for a combination of technical aspects and also the engagement of people in the finding and testing and validating of the technical aspects of the solution. This because we are convinced that without the engagement, the deep and extensive engagement of communities, urban communities, it will be anyway difficult to find systemic answers to the climate issues across Europe. Of course, this is our choice. It doesn't necessarily mean that future experiments like this must include the same definition of envisaged solutions. We could very well have examples like Valentina's case on artificial pitches as targets for a new pan-European or multi-country experiment like the one I presented before. And with this, I would stop and leave to Valentina the floor.
Thank you very much. I think that it's to procure innovative instead of traditional has a lot of advantages, and I hope I can convince you. Yes, I will do my best to do it. So the innovative solutions will not always, but often will be cheaper, more holistic, and will help you to make an impact on different different fields. For example, what is the difference? When you procuring traditionally, you just ask for certain specific thing you would like to buy. For example, if you need new lamps in your building, in traditional way, you will ask, I would like to buy lamps preferable from Philips. This is the traditional procurement. Instead, if you would procure innovative, you will formulate your procurement need as a challenge. And then it will stimulate creative and innovative power of the market. If you formulate it as I need lights in my building, that it brings more space for more innovative solutions. Then you can receive offer for lamps from Philips, but then maybe you can also receive a proposal to lease lamps instead of to buying them. Maybe there will some market party who would say lights, it's not necessarily that not should be necessarily lamps. If you make your windows bigger by adjusting your building, for example, then there will maybe also enough light. You will do not need lamps at all, or could be some other innovative lightening solution we are not can imagine yet, but maybe that will be so. In terms of climate adaptation, just would like to share a small example. We used also procurement, we formulated it as a challenge. So we said we would like for our new to develop areas in the urban, in the municipality of Haarlem, we would like to make area around houses more climate adaptive. But we didn't say how. So in that way, we received also a lot of suggestions from market parties, and one of them is so-called WADI. And what is WADI? It's actually very simple and very cheap solution. You have kind of deployment you can imagine kind of sponge. If there are a lot of rainwater, they plant in this deployment some special plant sorts who absorb and keep humidity of the rainwater when there is a lot of rain falls. But in the warm and hot periods and dry periods, they gave humidity away. And it's actually very, very cheap, but it works because you do not have, if there are heavy rainfalls, which is a consequence of the climate change, you will not have that big problem in the urban area, because as a sponge, these places between houses will absorb water and then give it away. So just a few examples, hoping to convince you to procure innovative instead of traditional.
Thank you very much. There is one more question that maybe we can keep for the second round of questions from Isile Moulineau, because Luca was asking, as our challenge is citizen focused, what if the provider is unable to provide a solution in the language of our country? And I think that this is something that in different ways Barbara and Diego were facing. So I would leave the floor to Diego Falla from the city of Differdange, and he will be accompanied later on or along the presentation by his colleague his colleague Martina Di Gallo from R2M, which is the solution provider, one of the two solution providers that is operating so far in Differdange. Diego and Martina later on, I don't know. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share the screen. Can you see it?
Yes, yes, we do, and we see it full screen. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, perfect. So I think most of you know me. I'm Diego, and I work at the city of Differdange. And I'm going to present with Martina, that has been working with us for months now on one of the solutions that won the bid during the public procurement procedure that we organized in the context of Climaborough between 2023 and 2024. So I'm gonna start a bit with the highlights, that because like when you talked about innovative procurement, I was reading about the concept and I was actually thinking about what was innovative in our experience. Starting from the top, I think that the most obvious feature that was mentioned already and that was just answered actually, there was a question about it, is this shift from to purchase a product or a service to actually solving a challenge. We're not going to think about a product, object, or or a study or a service, specific solution. We're going to actually think about a challenge, and we're going to basically design procurement that will allow different players to suggest their service, their product, but with opening a margin to innovate and to focus on the challenge that in our case was renewable energy. So that already was very interesting because we really focused on designing the challenge. This led to a lot of policy discussions externally in the context of the project, with our stakeholders, with you, cities, but also internally, because we had to kind of decide what was our priorities. We had to check a bit our strategies, our carbon neutral goals, what to focus on. And I think that this happened when I was not yet working in Differdange, but renewable energy was also the biggest priority in our roadmap to neutrality, and that was chosen as the main topic for this procedure in the context of Climaborough. So one thing led to the other. And then I think also this kind of multi-angle approach, that was a very, I think, theoretical discussions that we had in the project about, is the solution technical, social, or regulatory, like legal? That was very important, I think, for us to understand a bit better what we needed. In the end, we kind of focused on technical and social aspects, but of course that the regulation aspect of it is constantly showing up now that we're implementing the technical and social solutions. So I think that it was interesting to discuss that and to understand a bit what should be the impact of the solution. But in the end, I think everything is kind of interconnected, and that's why I'm gonna actually give examples of how these experiences impacted our work here. So I think that during the procedure, the preliminary market consultation was something very new to us. It caused a bit of a disruption. People are used to working with with players from Luxembourg. There's the whole language aspect of it, but also all kinds of this kind of aversion to risk, and people just wanting to keep in a way, and if something is working, why should we change it? And I think that having the preliminary market consultation was a way of like officially introducing this change. So we had to do it because the procedure asked for it. And we organized the session here. We have a photo there. That was July 2023. It seems like ages ago, but it really was, I think, the start of also this visibility that we gave to the procurement procedure here, also with our teams. Usually, procurement goes a bit unnoticed, in the daily lives of civil servants, in my opinion, here in Luxembourg. Sometimes we even do it through a specialized consultancy that kind of like does it for us. We don't have, for example, here in Differdange, a specific department, legal department that deals with procurement. So it's basically something that is done in a very how can I put it, automatic way. There's not, I don't think there's a lot of thought given to it besides, you know, how much it's going to cost, what should be the procedure we should follow. So I think that already the preliminary consultation was something very different. And also the whole co-creation that already was talked about with our partners in the project, from academia, from other cities, from Innovation Institute, LIST, for example, in our case. And that leads to the second experience, which was this kind of EU level innovation. So, okay, let's really look around the whole Europe and beyond in order to understand what is existing in the market for us. And I think that was something that, as I said, also it was quite new. We also reached out to international stakeholders in other cities, as I said. And I think that for us, the language barrier in Luxembourg is quite interesting because we do speak different languages, but when it comes to local administration, Luxembourgish, which is a very specific language, is a language that the grammar was basically instituted 5 years ago only. It's the language spoken between, you know, civil servants in a local level. It's the language spoken also between civil servants and the big contractors that, you know, are active in the country. And we really stepped out of this comfort zone, organizing the procedure in English. English is a language that I think is very popular amongst here in Luxembourg younger people, but for people that are a bit more senior, it's still French. So there was kind of this interesting, I don't want to call it tension, but there was kind of a discomfort in the air. But then actually we kind of use translation. We use also like our multilingual, you know, I think that multilingualism also played a role there, and we managed to in a way to adapt. But that was quite interesting, and I think for other cities is also a very important feature, the whole language aspect of it. That maybe in a couple of years is going to be solved with AI. I have no idea, maybe, but yeah, something to think about. Also, this photo on the right is me in Torino. I basically was there for another project, but I just ran a bit from one of the meetings to talk about energy communities. And that was kind of the moment where we kind of shift our focus a bit more specifically from renewable energy to the concept of energy communities, that now is kind of the focus of one of our solutions. So yeah, also conversations by a nice river in Torino were important. So lessons learned. I think that the challenge definition, as I said, was the focus of a lot of our co-creation procedure, and you know the added value that Climaborough brought to us. One thing that I would say is that we should not be too broad, but also not too strict. I think that looking back, we were a bit of too broad. The whole concept of renewable energy is so big. I think that nowadays, if we could already, you know, understand that energy communities would be the focus, that could actually be interesting for the procurement procedure, because I think that's where we kind of like are heading to as more innovative. So that's something to think about, I think, next time. You know, how broad is your topic? It has to give margin. You know, the challenge should still be a challenge that allows different solutions, but that's something that I think should really be thought through. Regarding the preliminary market consultations, one thing that I also talked with some people already is like the idea of doing instead of multiple events, doing one multi-city big event, or maybe, you know, in a procurement with like 8 cities, doing 2. You know, trying to find synergies based on maybe even language or also the nature of the solutions. I think that, you know, the fact that I think now in the second round we're doing the preliminary market consultations online. I think that also allows for the synergies, and I think it avoids what Francesco mentioned. You know, instead of launching multiple procurement procedures, we launch like kind of one, and that it's easier for a solution provider to understand. I think also for the PMC, it would be easier in general to have, like, you know, instead of 8 events, maybe 2 or 3. For me, it was very difficult to keep track of all the PMCs. Because it was just so much time, so many different ones. Anyway, I think that for some cities it's important to have one, you know, when it's a bigger city. But we could have done it, I think, with other cities, and it would have suited us perfectly well. Then also something that I think is interesting is the mainstreaming of citizen engagement and behavioral change in the challenge. I think the fact that we focus on a social solution is something that we are already using in other procurements that we are doing here in the city that are not per se innovative, but we are kind of adding, the need of a service provider to also suggest or promote participation, citizens engagement, and I think that, in my opinion, I don't know, like participation social engagement should not be a challenge, but actually an overarching need in public-led innovation. I think that is something that should always be the case. And then I think, lastly, I wanted to kind of make. I think that we talk a lot about innovation, but I have the feeling that we already talked about this today also in the first presentation, that there's always this elephant in the room, like should cities, should local administrations business as usual and keep the basic of the city working? Why should we be the ones innovating? Shouldn't this be the work of the private sector, startups, etc.? And then I think that it's really important to use public procurement innovation to promote this culture of openness and experimentation among civil servants. There's this scholar called Mariana Mazzucato. She's quite famous on LinkedIn. And she has this book called the Entrepreneurial State, where she kind of challenges this idea that innovation should be led by the private sector. And then there's this phrase that she says, there is not a single key technology behind the iPhone that has not been state funded. I think that this is quite a statement, and it's quite interesting to see how public money actually has been, behind a lot of innovation, especially when we talk about national level. And at the local level, we really have the contact with the citizens. Like we really know what is happening on the ground, and why not use this knowledge in order to promote, more green mobility or energy or social innovation. Like since we are basically in contact with this daily challenges. I think that this entrepreneurial mindset in the public sector, it's something that also could motivate civil servants, because often civil servants are seen as, bureaucrats or, people that are just badging in, badging out. And that we need to talk about this. It is kind of a stigma of the public sector. And I think we should really use this to motivate people that are, working in the public sector and could be allies of innovation. So that's just a message here that I think that we should really look at this exercise as something that really changes this stigma in a way. So I'm gonna now give the floor to Martina. Martina Di Gallo. Hi, Martina. I'm gonna do your slides, so let me know when I change the slides.
Yeah, just a brief presentation from my side. I'm Martina Di Gallo. I'm a project manager and proposal developer here in R2M Solution. Just a quick overview of R2M. So R2M, it's an engineering company specialized in integrated consulting. And myself, I'm based in Italy, where also we have the headquarters in Pavia. But we have also other offices in France, UK, and also Spain. Our, let's say, approach and our mission is to bridge the gap between research on the market and let's say the practical applications of the products and services we are developing in R&D projects. And our company is subdivided in three main divisions. So the innovation division, where I work, where we are focusing and working on R&D project, not only as partners, but also as a consultancy company. And then we have the innovative products division, where basically all the products and services and tools developed in R&D projects are, let's say, boost to the market, both in Italy, but also around Europe. And then we have the sustainability consulting and energy services, which are focused on certification of buildings. And yeah, if you can go on, Diego, please. Yeah, just giving you a brief overview of the solution we have provided to Differdange. Our project is called DECAF, so Decarbonizing Differdange, and we are basically supporting the municipality in its ambitious goal to produce 100% of its electricity locally and sustainably by 2030. With this, what we have provided, it's a twofold solution. So we have from one side a platform for, let's say, managing energy communities, but also for monitoring and forecasting, let's say, the energy in buildings. And on the other side, and I think this is the core part of the project, it's citizen engagement and a gamification strategy we have developed in order to engage citizens and increase their awareness, let's say, on the energy community topic domain, and to guide them through this, let's say, educational path through some gamification, some challenges that actually it will start in a couple of weeks. And at the end, we will also study, let's say, the transferability and replicability of this solution. So yeah, as Diego mentioned, this was, let's say, our first project of this kind in another country, let's say outside Italy. And this, let's say, has been an opportunity also for us to, let's say, better understand also local conditions and the state of the art, in particular in this topic, so energy community in another country. This has led to, let's say, some challenges also in understanding, a different context and a different, let's say, maturity compared to Italy or Spain, where we are, let's say, working a lot on this topic. And Diego, if you can go on the next slide. Yeah, so in my final slide, I've just recap a bit what's our feedback on this innovative procurement based on our experience. So I, let's say, asked some of my colleagues that took care of the, let's say, procurement phase here for this tender, but also asking their feedback about also other proposals that we have prepared for, say, other challenges. And so we have, let's say, a little bit more experience in Italy, where we presented other proposals for, let's say, other procurement phases. And this was the first time for us in another country compared to Italy. And it has been a very interesting opportunity for us because, we have to understand and develop a solution based on, let's say, preliminary information that has been, let's say, shared on the tender process. But also for us, it took a little bit of time when we, let's say, finalized the contract and we started the activities early, let's say, back to 2024. And it took, even if we, let's say, readapted a bit after, before the, let's say, the finalization of the contract, but after that, it actually took, let's say, some months in order to understand the context in Luxembourg, because also, the topic of energy communities, it's evolving very quickly in Luxembourg, as we discovered with Diego. And so during the time, we really have to readapt, let's say, the solution, and in particular, for example, the topic also of citizen engagement, what content should be developed for the educational campaigns. And this took a little bit of time. But I think that both for R2M, but also for the municipality of Differdange, it was a very interesting exercise to do. And also to understand, for example, the different, say, specificities of the cities. For example, I think Diego mentioned that in Luxembourg, there is a quite usual a top-down approach, while we are proposing a bottom-up approach. In particular, explaining citizens their role in this kind of topic of energy communities, where really you have to create a community, first of all. You have to provide them and to guide them through, let's say, an educational path, but at the same time, taking into consideration their feedback and inputs. And yeah, my final point that was also shared with me with from my colleagues who took care of, let's say, the procurement part. Of course, we know that this is the first time and you're taking care of the innovative procurement. This is was like also a test. But based on our experience, for example, in some other cases, the procurement procedure, the contract signature was a little bit, let's say, quicker. But and we totally understand that it requires time when also there are multiple actors involved and there's always a discussion going on. So, but we are really keen to, let's say, implement the project in the best and effective way as possible. That's all from my side. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the both of you, to Diego and to Martina. It was extremely interesting, and you were also inspiring us with a lot of food for thought. So thanks a lot. I would take the chance to leave the stage to the city of Cascais. We have Barbara Coelho from Cascais Ambiente, and she's going to be accompanied by the two solution providers that are working with Cascais. The companies are called Theoremos and Zelus. Apologies for not pronouncing it properly. I see from the list of participants we have Ivalio, Maria, and Dora, but I will leave the stage to Barbara and she's gonna lead the whole conversation. So thanks a lot.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, yes, okay. We do. We see and hear.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for this invitation to present our experience in this public procurement process. I'm Barbara Coelho, like Chiara said. I'm from city of Cascais, and before I start my presentation, I would like to have a few contexts about city of Cascais. I don't know. Okay. Cascais is a city in Portugal, is a coastal city that has 200,000 inhabitants. That because it's a coastal city, faces a significant environmental challenges related to waste management. The city has already made a clear commitment to carbon neutrality by 2050. In this project, waste is the key to the carbon neutrality strategy. And this challenge in Cascais is to create recycling streams, including textiles, promoting the circular economy. This procurement process has several innovative elements, such as preliminary market consultation, multi-city and multi-challenge procurement that allows cities learning to be shared between cities and synergies to be created between suppliers and the cities. The other element that we highlight, the public procurement for innovation that allows solutions to emerge that do not yet fully exist on the market and still test pilots with European funding before being scalable. And last, funding for pilots, which after a successful experimentation phase reduces the risk for cities and encourages suppliers to come up with bolder solutions. Among these elements for the procurement process in this project, we highlight the preliminary market consultation. This phase stands out by enabling direct interaction between the municipalities and potential suppliers, fostering a more precise alignment between local challenges and innovative solutions available in the market. This process allowed us for adjustments to the identified challenge before publishing the tenders, ensuring better alignment between supply and demand, while actively engaging companies and institutions from the outset. For our experience, this PMC was relevant because allow us to identify customized solutions. This consultation allowed us to explore innovative solutions tailored to our priority challenges, such as improving textile waste collection. These focus on customized solutions and help us to address our problems more effectively. The second point that I want to highlight, the focus on social technical solutions. Cascais used this phase to prioritize the proposals that combine technology and with behavioral changes strategies, aligning with the Climaborough's goals of promoting smart cities and carbon neutrality. And the last, engage local and international stakeholders. This PMC created space for participation from small and medium enterprises, startups, and research institutions in Portugal, promoting this active collaboration with diverse stakeholders. This diversified involvement enriched the process with the new ideas and approaches. In our experience, this preliminary market consultation not only helped Cascais improve our challenges before publishing tenders, but also ensure that proposed solutions were practical for us, scalable, and aligned with the European climate goals and our goals as well. This is from my side. I want to give floor to my colleagues Dora and Maria from Zelos company.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you. Hi to everyone. Thank you for having us here. My name is Dora Kalipolitou. Together with Maria Bouloukaki, my colleague, we are representing Zilus, and together with Theoremos, the fellow beneficiary, we are developing a joint solution for Cascais regarding textile management. From our side, being active in Portugal also is the first time. We primarily work in the Greek market. So it was a very nice opportunity to explore a little bit more in Europe. And Climaborough, actually, we have to say, maybe we go to the feedback, Barbara. I don't know if you control the... Yes. So, and Climaborough was our opportunity to explore this. So, we work a lot of agile. So we concentrated our feedback in a similar way. So what went well? We really like the transparency of steps and the way they were described, like 4 steps, if I'm recalling correct. The requirements were there. There was enough time for preparation between steps. But I have to say that the best part and the highlight that we appreciated a lot was the possibility to discuss with the city before submitting the final proposal. I think this was a part that made the whole process much nicer, because we are also used in European projects. You submit your proposal and then it's a black box until you receive the review. So this part was a very nice one to see, like how the city was feeling about what we proposed, and to get the opportunity to refine it and customize it to their needs. So we really like this part. And now, what could have been better? From our experiences, the contracting procedures could be a little bit refined, because there were some delays, but I think this is also related to the fact that we were in the first round of this innovative process. So of course, everybody was learning. And we had like a lot of back and forth. We were discussing like how things were done. The good thing was that, of course, the team was always available, and we had the opportunity to discuss everything. But yes, I would say this would be the only thing to improve. And I guess that would be it from our side, and I would hand it over to Ivailo from Theoremos.
Hi, hello. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
loud and
Okay,
clear.
great. Hello, my name is Ivailo Tsako from Theoremos. So we are one of the 2 providers of the solution for Cascais. We're not now going to, I guess, to discuss so much what is the solution like, but regarding the tendering and the procurement procedures, which I can join most of the things said by my fellow colleague from Zelos. I think the most important that should be taken out as a let's say feedback is that this is really nice kind of procedures, because the cities, they really have this agile possibility to say what they are looking for, not exactly as a results, not exactly like in the beginning they said that it's not like I want this kind of equipment, that's it. You have a challenge, you have some kind of problem or something to solve, and through such kind of procedure really you can understand what is on the market, or even what is not on the market, because as few cases, even somehow in our case, you're revamping something to meet the city expectations, which is very important. So this is allowing first the cities to find a really new solution based on this agility and mobility of the tendering of the proposals. And second, it's also helping like us developers to even create a new or revamp already existing solution. So for me, this is the most important for this Climaborough procurement procedures. It's really helping both the cities and the providers to realize something new or to just make it more agile. Maybe the room of improvement would be of this, how already such kind of new and nice existing solutions after their deployment, how to be more accessible from the other cities. Because, for example, we have let's say requests or questions from other cities how they can use same kind of solution that we are offering for their own. Of course, they can pass through their own country tender procedures, but if this could be more easy through such kind of platform, it will be really nice. This is what I want to say. Otherwise, and especially I want to congratulate our colleagues from Cascais Ambiente, the host city, for the nice communication. This is also very helping to build and finalize the product as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ivailo. I just catch the opportunity to remind to our audience that Theoremus is working also with the city of Sofia within the framework of the Climaborough procurement process. So we have kind of crossed
yes.
relationships between the solution providers and the cities. Well, thank you so much to the whole of you for being so effective in really sharing lots of thoughts and comments. We have a few minutes left that we can use for the questions. We have actually one pending question from the city of Issy-les-Moulineaux, as we had Luca wondering what happens when we get lost in translation somehow. So partially, perhaps Diego and Martina were considering this question, but I would be happy to bring it back to the table. And then we have a few questions from the city of Pilsen, from Martina. I will read them for the audience, but you can also find them in the chat. So, how can we help to promote the shift of our procurement mindset from specifying solutions to framing the right challenges? You were all discussing about the importance of designing the challenge the right way in order to be effective. And in Martina's question, designing the right challenge means how to has relationships with how to unlock innovative responses from the market. Then the second question is what are the major opportunities and challenges when you cooperate with a foreign company? So and she wonders, and this is a good question, how about citizens engagement? We in our countries we have different cultures and different approaches to citizens engagement. So how have you been operating so far according to this? And which are your comments on this? And then we have Milica from Preda that is bringing some questions from the city of Prijedor. So what is the general time frame of innovative public procurement? So we have a specific timing that is provided by Climaborough, but maybe the time frame can be different. Could it be shorter? Because in our case we had, as I mentioned, around quite a long round, at least in the first round of tendering. And then the second question from Milica is, what is the best approach for the long-term viability of the solution to have in mind at the beginning of the process? I think that this is also quite related to the way in which the challenge is designed and imagined and in a way foreseen for having a role in the pathways of cities towards climate neutrality. I don't know in which way you want to pick up the questions. I would say it's a bit up to you, and maybe you might have cross comments on all the questions. Maybe Diego, you feel like starting?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just comment. So regarding the challenge design, I think that, as I said, like referring to something that already exists, like a legal basis, like a strategy or a plan, or something that it's about to happen. I think one thing that I really find it interesting for the future is that to check, where is the budget going? Like, where is the money going actually? Where should you focus if you want to have an impact as, a project manager of innovation or a head of innovation in your municipality? I think that it's once you start doing it, I think you have this effect that other people join, like the head of the department of mobility, usually someone that has a lot of power over that. So if you actually bring him in and try to understand what are his plans for the future, and then try to say, maybe here we can do something with innovation. I think this internal dialogue is very important. And I really think that following the money sometimes is very important too. So having a knowledge on how the budget is decided in this case is very important. For other European projects, I think that it's as Francesco said, we are basically doing for the first time this kind of like European. So I think that we should really work also on the giving visibility to that in Climaborough and showing it's possible, because the advantages of working with international providers for me is very clear. I think it's very narrow-minded to think that in one country, especially when you are like in a country that, you're not in Germany or in France, which are like huge countries, but like in Luxembourg, we are basically the size of a medium city. So of course that we need foreign input. And I think that this is for us what really we see that, for example, even the discussion about energy communities in the context of Climaborough impacted how the energy engineers of the city actually started to deal with their business. They basically said, these people are talking about that, but so let's just see what's happening already here in Luxembourg. So I think they are bringing in what already exists in the country, but also in a way listening to us. Sometimes it's a bit tricky, they're a bit like, but this is our competency, like, what are you? But in a way, I think like finding this common ground and it's possible, and with citizens engagement, I think that that's, from my opinion, like a challenge. We sometimes the solution provider is used to one type of audience, and we have different languages, cultures, and I think it's a matter of also understanding your audience, and sharing with the solution provider, and tailoring something that already exists to your needs.
Okay, thank you, Diego. Then I have two hands. The first hand is Valentina's hand, and then after her we have Martina Di Gallo.
Thank you very much, Chiara. I would like to address the question about the time frame, because it's very recognizable for me as the representative of the public authority. What I also see in our European network of cities and regions and member states is that some public authorities would like to do innovation, to buy innovation, but they have kind of, okay, it will take quite a long time. If you do pre-commercial procurement, you would need special expertise. You would need also some budget to do that. Or innovation partnership, it also takes some time. So there is kind of explicit need in already existing innovative solutions, but how to find them. So I would like to suggest to check European Innovation Council website, where if you are public authority, you would like to buy some innovations, already existing innovations, they have about more than 6,000 innovative companies in their database of the European Innovation Council, and they can help you. They have program managers. They can help you to find matching with your need. If you, for example, have even for smaller amounts as a pilot, like 5,000 euros or 10,000 euros, if you would like to see if there is something out there, and they can help you. So, and they screened all these innovative companies. So all the companies are in their database. I already screened if there is real innovation. And they, in case you do kind of pilot, you would like to buy a lot of that service or work or product, then European Commission can inject money in the beneficiaries and to scale up this solution if you would like to buy more. So just wanted to mention it because it's shortening the time of procurement a lot, and sometimes we do not know if there is already ready-to-use solution, and probably there will be. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, from my side, I just want to address, let's say, 2 points. The one related to the language and also, let's say, cultural barriers or, let's say, differences, different states. And also the viability of the solution and, let's say, the replicability in the long term. So the first point concerning languages and cultural barriers, of course, this is one crucial point that you always have to take into account when not only, let's say, also in Italy, for example, every city, every context is different from one from another. So based on our, let's say, on our experience, and also in this case with Differdange, we spent a lot of time and discussion about understanding the local context. And also, I mean, we started the project in August, September, and the discussion it's still ongoing. So also one point is that also in 1 year of project, it's quite difficult to address all this part of citizen engagement in just 1 year, because really the first part of also developing a strategy of engagement but also the gamification really requires to understand the local conditions. Also, let's say, cultural barriers and all the specificities. So it's really, each solution has to be, let's say, fine-tuned for the local context. And you can have some, let's say, common activities, but others that have to be, let's say, fine-tuned for that city, for that neighborhood. It's really something that must be specific for this area. And in terms of replicability and viability in the long term, yeah, it's something for me and from, let's say, our experience that should, let's say, the discussions should start at the beginning of the project. And also a very important point is to understand the needs of the city, and through the discussion and how the activities are going on, you can see whether you have to adjust something, if something is working, if something is not working. Yeah, it's also for us, this activity and this project is it's a test.
Okay, well, thank you so much for this rich webinar, rich in presentations, rich in answers, rich in comments and discussions. We have a few minutes left, and I would leave the floor to Matteo Satta, which is the scientific coordinator of Climaborough, for his final remarks. Thanks a lot.
Hello. Hello, good morning, everyone. This is just mostly to thank all the speakers first and all participants to this nice webinar. We touched all the key points, I mean, the keywords, the procurement, behavioral change, we have the solution provider, cities working with cities working with someone else. What we can say is that I would say that we understood how procurement is important, how procurement can give opportunities, even next to some challenges that obviously a procedure, a public procedure obviously has. But that's very important to keep working on that and understanding how working in a collaborative way. I mean, having cities working with cities, cities working with anyone else is very important, is fundamental to move things on. This gives much more value to anything, increases its value in an environment like that. Now, to go towards that and trying to do this even further, I just share a quick slide with all of you, because to remind all of you what was already said, by the way, but about our next call for tender. I mean, next is not correct because it's ongoing. The ongoing call for tender about our follower cities. I remind you the 5 cities, Francesco already mentioned them, but we have the city of Prijedor, Grenoble Metropole, which is a urban agglomeration, the city of Issy-les-Moulineaux, the city of Pilsen, and the city of Sofia. This slide that will be shared on our website with all the other documents, including the recording. There is here the link where you can find all the information about the tender. And the deadline, as Francesco already said, will be on May 9, last minute of the day, if we take into consideration the Brussels stuff. Now, to keep be informed about everything we do, including and particularly the procurement, don't forget that we have a newsletter that is quite active. We try to, actually, we do once a month the newsletter, and we have a LinkedIn account that is very active right now, and it makes sure that all information is shared with all of you. I mean, with the whole audience, including all of you, making sure that you will be able to detect any kind of information that is coming out of the tender. Also reminding sometimes deadlines. And about that, I just recall that this first phase is quite easy to participate to. It's mostly about you. I mean, it's about skills and capacity, but also financial capacity. But just don't forget that the deadline is a deadline. That means that we won't be able to accept any proposal submission that will go over the May 9 at 23:59. Then just take the time to do your application in case a bit earlier to avoid any issues, also because, as you know, these kind of platforms that we use, while there is the final crowd may be less effective also than what happens normally in a normal situation. Now, I would say that with this, I've ended my small speech. Thanks again, in particular to the speakers. Thanks to Chiara for moderating this one and making this one happening, and the whole Urban Lab team. Thanks to Valentina and Francesco for the nice keynote speeches. Thanks to Diego. Thanks to Barbara. And now I'll try to go with the solution providers. That is more difficult. Martina, and there was, if I'm not wrong, Dora and Maria, Rico Livalco, and hopefully I didn't forget anyone. In case I excuse myself in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.